Hello, it's Emma Jo here from Lavinia Stamps, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I made this rather lovely card. And it's a really magical sort of scene, and it's all about that magic within. For this I'm going to need some A6 multifarious card, and we're going to start with some Elements Ink Sundance, and I'm just going to tickle, if you like, the paper about here, because that's sort of where I want those mushrooms to be. And let's move on to our Elements Ink Confetti, and I'm just going to do a little bit about there and a little bit about here. Oh, I don't know, maybe a bit there and some more down here. Let's go in with Blue Atoll now, and that's going to go around the outside. So blend a little bit around the outside of the area that you've already coloured. We're just creating a sort of bluish frame to it. Get your water bottle spray, and we're just going to spray onto this background. I really love the effect that this faux bleaching gives to any card background. And I'm just going to dab some of that excess moisture off. And that leaves us with a speckled background, which is excellent. Let's rip some paper. Lovely. You could use an acetate hill mask if you wanted to, but for me, I would like it to have a more organic edge. So that's what I'm going for with the ripped paper. And we're going to grab some Elements Ink Truffle and just slowly create a ground for our cloche to sit on. Now I am going to just tighten up that edge a little bit by using a Series 3 stencil brush and just going along the top edge. Okay, now let's stamp. So I've got my acrylic board and I'm going to pop the cloche stamp. Some people might call it a bell jar, but we're going with cloche. And I'm going to ink that up in Versafine Clair Nocturne. Now this lovely cloche is going to go so that it sits on that ground that we've made. There we go. We're going to use these lovely mushrooms from the Purple Cap mushroom set. We're going to ink these up in Versafine Clair Portobello, and I'm going to do the tall one first. And then I'm going to get the smaller mushroom in the same style and ink it up. And this time I'm going to do them at quite a jaunty angle. Now let's get the forest moss. There they are. These lovely little things are great at creating a little forest floor. We're going to use Versafine Clair Nocturne, but we're going to do second generation stamping. Okay, so let's just do this. Look at that magic. Now we can sort all the rest in colouring, but that looks great to me. So this is the Stars mini group, and we're going back to Versafine Clair Portobello, and I only want to use this twice in second generation stamping, and we'll do the extra big one that way around. There we go. Let's break up all this stamping with a little bit of colouring. And the first thing we're going to do is colour those mushrooms. So I'm going to need my Mondeluz Watercolour Pencils. I'm going to use a red, an orange and a yellow. So I tend to put my yellow in first in the centre. What I love about these pencils is they blend so beautifully together. So you can get this lovely feeling of one colour because they're all blended together. Now don't worry about going over the little bits that are going to be white dots. we can do that with a Posca pen, as long as you can still see them. So don't be too heavy that you're going into the paper. So that's our mushroom done, and we're going to go with some greens now. So I'm going to go with a nice mid green and a darker green and still a bit of this yellow. Grab your green. Now I tend to think of the darker green going at the bottom. Okay, then our middle green will come into play. That's the next colour to go above that green, and by doing it this way we give a little bit more form in our colouring to this bit of moss. Which is lovely. And we top it off with a bit of yellow. Now we need to do a little bit more stamping. So let's get the potted sage from one of the sets of herb stamps. And for this, we're only going to be using the foliage bit. So what I'm going to do is ink it up, but I'm going to ink it up in Versafine Clair Monarch. And I reckon having some purple sage is perfect for the bottom here. So you can do it in first and second generation stamping. So we're moving on now to a rather lovely new stamp, and this is called Moon Laurel. Now I'm using the smaller one first, and I'm going to ink it up in Bally Blue. And we're doing first and second generation stamping here to build up a background. A lovely frame. So we're moving on to the larger Moon Laurel stamp, and we're going to ink it up in Rainforest, Versafine Clair Rainforest. And for this one, we're just going to do, it's not quite as much as the background of the other one. Again, you can do this in second and first generation stamping. Doesn't it look lovely once you start completing that frame? A little bit there too. Fabulous. Okay. I am going back to my Versafine Clair Monarch, and I'm going to use the very small sage plant. And this will just give us, it'll give us a variation, won't it? So that, my friends, is more or less all the stamping that we're going to be doing. Now we're going to be looking more at colouring. So I'm going to take my, where are you? My confetti brush, which still has a little bit of confetti on, and I'm going to add some confetti to the inside top left of the cloche, and a little bit over here to the inside of the cloche again, because it just helps make it pop. Take your Posca pen, and we're going to go inside this cloche. Okay, and then I'm going to just colour in these lovely tiers that this cloche is sitting on. Okay. Topping up on that white just makes all the difference. Okay, I'm going to add some rather lovely magical dots, really. We'll put a little bit of a white accent at the top here. And I'm going to add some, you're going to think I'm a bit strange, but trust me. You know how when you look at a piece of glass and the light hits it at a certain point? That's what we're doing. It's a highlight. But you might wonder, what on earth is she doing colouring over what we've just done? I'm going to use some aquamarine because I like the colour. There we go. And we're just going to add a couple of accents to these tiers here. And we'll do a little bit of aquamarine up here too. Just ties it all in together, doesn't it? Lovely, lovely. So now we're going to add a little bit more colour to the frame. We're going to start off with a little bit of mulberry. I love the way this interacts with Blue Atoll. There's something that reminds me of an enchanted summer evening in the way those colours play together. Okay, right. Next we're going to take a little bit of dark denim. We're going to use a Series 3 stencil brush. I'm going to whiz around the outside. Doesn't that look lovely? Right, I know that there's a couple of smudges on there, and I know that you're probably thinking, oh, what's she going to do with those? Well, my friends, that is a very good question. Thank you for asking it. So, I'm going to take yellow, pink and blue colours from my Mondeluz Watercolour Pencil set. And I'm going to create some wonderfully magical orbs right over my smudges. And they add that little, they can help to balance a colour on a page as well. I think they're great. Okay. So I'm going to take the Gansai Tambi Starry set. And this is number 903, which is yellow gold. So I'm just using a little bit of water and adding a couple of accents just to some leaves. Don't need to do too much, but just at the front. Okay. So I think that's enough gold that I really need down there, but we do need them on the stars, don't we? So let's put some gold on these stars. Okay. Right. The very last thing that we need to do to this is add a little bit of stickles. And the stickles I'm using are holly. It's lovely because it's got this smash of green and red, just like a holly plant at Christmas. And it looks wonderful when you put it on foliage. So I'm going to just squeeze that and make sure I've got it where I want it. I'm going to add some just to the darker foliage around the frame. I think that little touch is magical. Now, if you feel that your work needs a little bit of extra magic with some orbs, again, just add them in. Now, I'm adding a touch of white to the centre of the orbs just to make them pop a bit. And I think I'm going to add some more white ones just where it's darker. So there we have it. One completed Magic Within card. Thank you very much for coming along and joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this card, the Magic Within, and maybe you feel inspired to have a go yourself. That would be great. Thank you very much for your company. It's been great to have you here. Anyway, you have fun creating. Take care. Bye.